So for a while now, I've been talking about how the election in November is going to be a toss-up. It could go to Donald Trump. It could go to Joe Biden. And the reason I say that, despite all of the issues with Joe Biden, and yes, he is a horrible candidate, historically horrible for the Democratic Party, enthusiasm for him is even lower than it was for Hillary Clinton back in 2016. But the one thing Joe Biden has is that Donald Trump is incredibly unpopular. And even if people are not excited about Joe Biden, many voters, especially voters that are over 45, that are more reliable voters, that maybe didn't vote in 2016 because they assumed Hillary was going to win because the media told them basically Hillary has us on lockdown. Those people are likely going to come out in big numbers to vote against Trump in November. And we're seeing polling now that may indicate that fact. So there's a few polls here I want to show you. This first one, Quinnipiac National Poll, Biden 50%, Donald Trump at 39%. Now again, national polls aren't the best at predicting what's going to happen because obviously swing states really matter. But when you have a lead of 11%, that's worth mentioning. That's pretty big. And this will, at least in some way, apply to swing states as well. But another poll here, John Harwood tweeting out, new Fox News national poll, Biden at 48, Trump at 40. So again, a big lead here for Biden in a Fox News poll. I got some examples. I've seen several of these in other states as well, like Arizona, where Biden's also leading. But here, Georgia, Biden at 48%, Trump at 47%. So we may be on the verge of seeing what is almost unprecedented in terms of these elections. Whereas it's going to be a massive turnout, but not a massive turnout because people are excited to vote, but a massive turnout because people are angry and want to vote against Donald Trump. So I've discussed before, Democrats win when turnout is high. And generally, in most cases, the way to get turnout up is to actually speak to people's needs, get young people involved, actually promise something, actually fight for something, fight for real changes like, say, Medicare for all, like free public college, like higher wages. But when it comes to Joe Biden, he kind of just needs to hide because the one benefit he has here is that Donald Trump is so unpopular that regardless of what Joe Biden says or does, there are going to be people that are going to come out and vote for Joe Biden to vote against Donald Trump. And look, I'm not saying young people are going to go out and vote. I think a lot of young people, it may be a historic election in the sense that young people are not going to come out at all, and it's going to be historically low turnout for young people. But if there are enough older voters or enough people in general that didn't vote in 2016 that are simply anti-Trump voters that come out and vote this time, then it could be a landslide for Joe Biden, which is something I really did not expect myself saying maybe, a year ago or even a few months ago. But based on how Donald Trump has screwed up his response to the coronavirus in terms of, lack of testing, lack of real help to the states, lack of help to workers, no cash for people, it's really going to drive turnout for Democrats, even though the Democratic leadership isn't really offering anything real either. I mean, just like the Republicans, they've also been really focused on corporate bailouts and not really offering any substantial help to people that need it. So, for example, you look at pretty much any other country at this point, there are direct cash payments. Right now in Canada, it's $2,000 a month for people that have been impacted by the coronavirus. If you've lost your job because of the coronavirus, you apply for $2,000 a month, you will get it, and you get it pretty quickly. And that also is in addition to also the unemployment benefits that you get once that $2,000 runs out for the next 4 months. So there is this help that's going on and help that will continue if the coronavirus pandemic continues. But you look at the U.S., Americans got what, $1,200? And you have people like Pramila Jayapal in the House trying to pass a Paycheck Guarantee Act where people that have a job are going to have their paychecks guaranteed to them, are going to be making full pay if that act were passed. But instead, you have Nancy Pelosi cutting that out to instead prioritize helping lobbying groups, helping chambers of commerce. I mean, it really is gross and stunning how horrible Democratic Party leadership has been. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer have been just disastrous. And you're only seeing real fight from, Pramila Jayapal, Bernie Sanders, AOC. And even then, their fight has not been anywhere near what has been necessary in order to actually do anything. So Jayapal, sure, she presented that Paycheck Guarantee Act. But when she was actually asked about her vote on that bill, or on Pelosi's bill, she told the reporter to put in the report that she is not fighting Nancy Pelosi. She's not fighting to not pass the bill. Like, she made it so clear that Jayapal made it so clear that she was not actually, saying anything critical of Nancy Pelosi or leadership, but she just is going to vote against the bill. I mean, it really is. It's disheartening. It's sad to see how quickly the few fighters that sometimes exist in Congress, how quickly they just back down from a fight. And they are so afraid of fighting Nancy Pelosi. But, I mean, this is the one benefit, maybe the only benefit, if Joe Biden were to become president, is that it then enables these sorts of Democrats to actually fight against the party. Because understand here, if you think back to Obama, Bernie Sanders was very vocal against Barack Obama. He talked about a primary challenge to Obama in 2012. He was fighting Obama when it came to the grand bargain where Obama was going to cut Social Security. So he was vocal back then because who had power? The Democratic Party. They had power. So he could be vocal and there's no real, downside to it. But right now with Trump in power, this is why I think a lot of Democrats have appeared to be neutered when it comes to actually fighting Democratic leadership, because they see, well, Donald Trump's in power, so I don't want to fight my own party because we have no power right now. I mean, this is their thinking. So if you have Democrats in actual power in terms of the presidency, in terms of the White House, and hopefully also in the Senate and keeping the House, you will see, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, hopefully Jayapal, Bernie Sanders, you will actually see them fight the party. But they're not going to fight the party as long as Republicans are in charge, because they see it as them just hurting the party. And look, I don't agree with that. I think they should be fighting the party right now as well, seeing as how inadequate leadership has been in terms of fighting Trump. But regardless of what I think, they think it's too risky to fight Democrats while Trump's in power. So understand the one silver lining to a Joe Biden presidency is it would actually free up some politicians to actually fight Joe Biden and the Democratic Party leadership, while also potentially there being some, at least, avenue for left-wing groups like the Sunrise Movement to actually fight for real change. Now, I'm not saying, I'm under no illusions that Joe Biden's going to be supporting, a $16 trillion Green New Deal like Bernie Sanders. I'm under no illusion that Joe Biden's going to back Medicare for all. But what does happen is under a Democratic presidency, there is at least an avenue for the left to have some say, some power. Whereas under Republicans, you have no power. And you have to think back to, when there's been the rare successes when it comes to these sorts of movements. Civil rights was not under a Republican, it was under Democrats. Gay rights, not under Republicans, under Democrats. So yes, you can say, well, none of these things went far enough and they weren't economic policy. Yeah, I get it. But still understand that the left at least has the potential to have some kind of impact under even the shittiest Democratic president in a Joe Biden than they do under Donald Trump.